I used to smile every time I saw my mom eating her daily bowl of vegetables. At 79, she was still independent, still sharp, and to me, still unstoppable. Every morning, she'd fix herself a plate. Steamed spinach, a few slices of raw eggplant, and sometimes even a raw potato blended into a juice she believed cleansed her gut. Natural is best, she'd say. I believed her. After all, isn't eating vegetables the most basic thing we're told to do for good health? But then, things started to shift. She began having stomach aches more often. Some nights, she couldn't sleep because of cramping or bloating. Her energy was lower than usual. We thought it was just aging, until a routine checkup changed everything. Her doctor looked over her food journal and shook his head. "I need you to stop giving her those raw vegetables immediately," he said. "Some of them are quietly harming her body." I was stunned. How could something as innocent as vegetables be a problem? That day opened our eyes. Not all veggies are created equal, especially for seniors. Some common ones, when eaten raw or too often, can silently trigger inflammation, digestive issues, or even make existing conditions worse. But here's the good news. With just a few swaps, my mom turned things around completely. Her energy came back, her digestion improved, and most importantly, she felt like herself again. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 vegetables her doctor told us to avoid, and, more importantly, 3 powerhouse veggies that have made a world of difference. If you or someone you love is over 65, this might be the most important health message you hear all week. Let's get into it. Let's start with the one that surprised me the most: raw potatoes. My mom had this routine. She believed drinking raw potato juice would soothe her stomach and cleanse her colon. She'd peel a small potato, toss it into the blender with a few ice cubes, and down it like medicine. She'd read about it online, seen a few videos, and thought, well, it's a vegetable. It has to be healthy, right? But what we didn't realize was that raw potatoes contain something called solanine, a natural toxin that can irritate the digestive system and, in larger amounts, lead to symptoms like nausea, vomiting, or even neurological issues. Solanine is the plant's natural defense against pests, but when we consume it, especially in raw form, it can turn against us. Now, here's the catch. Most people in the US don't eat raw potatoes. They eat them fried, in chips, or mashed with butter and cream. In fact, potatoes and tomatoes together make up about half of all vegetable availability in the American diet. But just because they're popular doesn't mean they're safe in all forms, especially not for older adults. And it's not just about raw versus cooked. Green potatoes, or those that have sprouted even slightly, have much higher concentrations of solanine. The skin might look a little off, and the taste might be slightly bitter. But most people ignore it. Seniors, however, are more vulnerable to the effects. Their digestive system processes things more slowly, their liver is more sensitive, and they may not even realize those mild stomach cramps or dizziness are coming from the healthy potato they had for breakfast. The doctor told us point blank, never give her raw potatoes again, and check every potato before you cook it. If it's green or sprouting, throw it out. It was a hard habit to break for my mom. She believed in her home remedies. But we made one simple switch. Baked or boiled potatoes, always peeled, always fully cooked, and always checked carefully for signs of sprouting or discoloration. No more raw, no more juice. And guess what? The bloating stopped. Her nausea disappeared. Her appetite even improved. So here's the takeaway. If you or a loved one is over 65 and still eating raw potatoes, whether in juice or salad, or even undercooked in stews, it's time to stop. Not because potatoes are bad, but because raw or improperly prepared ones can quietly do more harm than good. Stick to well-cooked, fully peeled, and fresh potatoes, and you can still enjoy their benefits without putting your health at risk. Sometimes, the difference between harm and healing is just 1 degree of cooking. The next one might come as a shock to anyone who thinks salad equals health. Raw spinach. My mom loved spinach. It was one of those vegetables she felt proud to eat. "It's full of iron," she'd say, as she tossed big handfuls of raw spinach into her morning smoothie or onto her lunch plate. For years, she believed it was keeping her strong. And to be honest, so did I. But over time, her stomach started to feel unsettled, especially after her raw salads. She'd complain of bloating, sharp cramps, and a strange heaviness that seemed to come out of nowhere. We never suspected the spinach. How could we? It's a superfood, right? Well, not always. Not for seniors. And definitely not when eaten raw too often. Here's what her doctor explained. Spinach, especially raw, can harbor dangerous bacteria like E. coli. In fact, in the U.S., multiple foodborne illness outbreaks have been linked to raw leafy greens, and spinach is often at the center of it. One tiny missed spot during washing, one contaminated leaf in the bag. And for an older adult with a weaker immune system, that can spell serious trouble. But that's only half the story. Spinach is also very high in oxalates, natural compounds that can bind to calcium and lead to the formation of kidney stones in people who are more susceptible. My mom had never had kidney issues before, but at 79, her ability to flush out excess minerals had changed. Without knowing it, her daily spinach smoothies were putting extra strain on her kidneys, especially because she wasn't drinking enough water to balance it out. The solution wasn't to quit spinach altogether, it was to cook it. Just lightly blanching or steaming spinach reduces both the bacterial risk and the oxalate levels. Even better, cooked spinach makes nutrients like iron, calcium, and lutein more bioavailable, meaning your body can actually absorb them better than from raw leaves. So we changed her routine. No more raw spinach smoothies, no more cold salads with unwashed bagged greens. Instead, we started gently sautéing spinach with a little olive oil and garlic. Sometimes she'd add it to soups or scrambled eggs. The results were immediate: less bloating, more energy, and her lab results at the next appointment showed healthier kidney function and less inflammation overall. I realized then that being healthy isn't just about eating good foods, it's about preparing them the right way for your body at your age. If you or a loved one is over 65 and still loading up on raw spinach, thinking it's the healthiest choice, think again. You might be better off cooking it, even just a little. It's a small shift with a big impact. Because when it comes to health, raw doesn't always mean right. Now let's talk about a vegetable that doesn't usually show up raw. But when it does, it can be trouble: eggplant. I'll be honest, I never thought eggplant could be dangerous. It wasn't something my mom ate every day, but she'd sometimes slice a bit of it raw into her salad, thinking it added a nice texture. She even read once that raw eggplant juice could be good for lowering cholesterol. So she started blending small chunks into her veggie shakes once or twice a week. We didn't think much of it until the bloating started. Then came the strange, bitter taste in her mouth that she couldn't shake, and a dull stomach ache that seemed to linger, especially after her health smoothies. She brushed it off at first, saying, "I'm just getting old." But her doctor didn't think so. He looked at her list of foods and immediately flagged the raw eggplant. "Please tell me she's not eating it uncooked," he said. Turns out, eggplant, like potatoes, is part of the nightshade family, and it contains solanine, the same natural toxin found in raw potatoes. When cooked, solanine levels drop to safe amounts. But when eaten raw, especially for older adults with slower digestion and more fragile immune systems, it can cause nausea, headaches, and gastrointestinal discomfort. That bitterness my mom was tasting? It was likely a warning sign from the plant itself, an evolutionary signal that says, "Don't eat me like this." And here's something else. Nightshades like eggplant, tomatoes, and peppers have been linked anecdotally to inflammation in some people, especially those with arthritis or joint issues. The science isn't conclusive, but, her doctor explained, that older adults who are sensitive to nightshades may feel better avoiding them raw, or in large amounts altogether. We made a simple change. No more raw eggplant in smoothies or salads. Instead, we roasted it. We grilled it. We sautéed it with other veggies and olive oil. My mom's bloating eased. The bitterness went away. And honestly, the food tasted better too. Eggplant, when cooked, is not only safe, it's a great source of fiber, potassium, and antioxidants. But raw, it's just not worth the risk, especially for anyone over 65. So here's the key message. Never eat eggplant raw. And if you've been using it that way, whether in juices, salads, or trendy raw dishes, stop now. Your body, especially as you age, simply isn't built to process solanine the way it used to. Cooking doesn't destroy the benefits of eggplant. In fact, it brings them out. So roast it, grill it, enjoy it warm and flavorful, but never raw. Because sometimes, just one small shift in how we prepare food can make the difference between inflammation and healing. After all the adjustments we made to remove the risky vegetables from my mom's diet, her doctor gave us a reassuring smile and said, "Now, let's focus on what she should be eating more of." And at the very top of his list? Broccoli. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Broccoli? Isn't that the veggie we all push to the side of our plate as kids? But, as it turns out, broccoli might just be one of the most powerful health tools for older adults, especially those over 65. It's part of the cruciferous vegetable family, which also includes cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. But broccoli stands out because it's packed with fiber, vitamin C, vitamin K, and something called sulforaphane, a compound that researchers link to reduced risk of cancer, heart disease, and inflammation. Just 1 cup of cooked broccoli gives you more than 100% of your daily vitamin C needs. That's huge, especially for seniors who are more prone to infections and slower healing. The other thing I love about broccoli, it's flexible. My mom wasn't big on raw veggies anymore, so we started steaming it lightly, or roasting it with a touch of olive oil and garlic. She even enjoyed it blended into soups, or mixed into brown rice bowls with grilled chicken. And if fresh broccoli wasn't available? Frozen broccoli worked just as well, because most frozen vegetables in the U.S. are flash frozen right after harvest, locking in their nutrients. One more thing we learned: dark green vegetables like broccoli are severely underconsumed in the U.S., especially among seniors. Less than 10% of older adults meet USDA recommendations for vegetable intake. That means most people are missing out on the exact kind of nutrients that protect against the diseases they fear most. So here's the message. If you're trying to simplify your nutrition, start with broccoli. It's easy to prepare, easy to digest when cooked, and packed with the kind of nutrients your aging body craves. For my mom, it became a staple. And honestly, she never looked back. The second veggie we started leaning on more, especially as my mom cut back on raw salads, was the sweet potato. At first, she wasn't convinced. "Isn't that just another kind of starch?" she asked. And it's a fair question. A lot of older adults have been told to cut back on carbs, especially if they're managing blood sugar or weight. But sweet potatoes are not your average carb. They're a powerhouse, especially for seniors. Here's why. They're loaded with fiber, vitamin A, and antioxidants. One medium sweet potato contains over 400% of your daily vitamin A needs, which supports vision, skin health, and immune function. On top of that, sweet potatoes are rich in potassium, which helps lower blood pressure and reduce strain on the heart. That's a big deal after 65, when cardiovascular risk starts creeping up. But here's what really changed my mom's mind. Sweet potatoes have a low glycemic index. That means they digest more slowly and don't spike blood sugar the way white potatoes or bread do. Her doctor even told her, if you're going to eat potatoes, switch to sweet. And that's exactly what we did. We started roasting them in the oven with a little olive oil and cinnamon. Sometimes she'd mash them with a bit of plain yogurt and a sprinkle of nutmeg. Other days, she'd slice them thin and bake them into homemade chips. The sweetness satisfied her cravings, and the fiber kept her full longer, something that really helped her manage portion sizes without feeling deprived. Another bonus? They're easy to digest, especially when cooked well, making them perfect for older adults who may have sensitive stomachs or slower digestion. And culturally, they feel familiar. In a lot of Asian and southern U.S. households, sweet potatoes have always had a place at the table. They're comforting, but when prepared the right way, they're also deeply nourishing. So if you're helping a parent or grandparent build a healthier plate, don't skip the carbs entirely. Sweet potatoes are one of the best slow-burning fuels you can give an aging body. Stable, satisfying, and full of life-giving nutrients. Just one switch, from white to orange, can make all the difference. The last veggie on our doctor's must-eat list was one we had completely overlooked. Dark leafy greens, especially kale and collard greens. For my mom, these were vegetables she used to eat when she was younger, but over the years, they'd slowly disappeared from her plate. Too bitter, she'd say, or too much work to chew. But once we dug into the benefits and found better ways to prepare them, these greens made a major comeback in her diet. And thank goodness they did. Dark leafy greens are some of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. They're rich in folate, which supports brain function. They're packed with calcium and vitamin K, which help maintain strong bones. And they're loaded with iron and antioxidants, which support energy, heart health, and even help protect against cancer. And here's something that caught my attention. According to national dietary surveys, most Americans, especially seniors, don't eat nearly enough of them. Even in regions like the Southeast, where collard greens are part of cultural traditions, they're often overcooked with heavy fats or simply replaced with more convenient processed foods. So we decided to keep it simple. We started lightly sautéing kale and collard greens with a bit of olive oil and garlic, just enough to soften the bitterness while keeping all that nutrition intact. Sometimes we'd blanch them quickly and toss them into soups or mix them with brown rice and roasted chicken. Other days, we'd chop them fine and add them to scrambled eggs or smoothies. And the difference was noticeable. My mom's energy improved. Her digestion became more regular. And her bone density? It actually stabilized, something her doctor hadn't expected after years of gradual decline. One important note. Like spinach, leafy greens do contain oxalates, which can interfere with calcium absorption. But a quick blanch or light cooking reduces that significantly, without destroying the good stuff. So here's the bottom line. If you want one simple way to nourish your heart, brain, and bones after 65, bring back the greens. They're not trendy, they're timeless. And with a little love in the kitchen, they can go from bitter chore to favorite side dish. Because growing older doesn't mean eating less, it means eating smarter. Looking back, I realize how much we assumed we were doing the right thing. My mom was eating vegetables every day. She avoided junk food, she drank water. But the truth is, even the healthiest habits can turn against you if they aren't adjusted to your body's changing needs, especially after 65. Raw potatoes, raw spinach, raw eggplant, they weren't evil. But they were wrong for her, at her age, in that form. Once we made those small shifts and started prioritizing broccoli, sweet potatoes, and dark leafy greens, everything began to change. Her energy lifted, her digestion improved, her mood brightened, and maybe most importantly, she felt like she was in control of her health again. Aging doesn't have to mean decline. It just means your body needs a little more attention, a little more care, and a lot more intention. So take this as a gentle nudge. Look at what's on your plate, not just with your eyes, but with your future in mind. Sometimes the difference between feeling okay and feeling truly alive is just one forkful away. Thanks so much for being here with us today. We'd really love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us one thing you took away from this video and how you're planning to use it in your life. Your thoughts truly matter to us, and reading your comments gives us the energy to keep going. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need it.